Here's another example of a word problem. Find two consecutive odd integers such that 3 times the first integer is 5 more than twice the second. The very first thing to do is to do the labeling part. And the labeling part is gotten by the first part of this. Two consecutive odd integers. I don't know what the integers are, so I'm going to say x is the first odd integer. Now, one thing that's true about odd integers, remember, integers are really just positive, negative numbers, like -3, -4, -5, or 5, 6, 7, that sort of thing. That's what integers are. So if I have odd integers, these are odd integers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, etc. Notice that to get from one odd integer to the next odd integer, I can just add 2 more. So my second odd integer is going to be whatever my first odd integer is plus 2. X plus 2 is going to be my second odd integer. Once again, the labeling part of these problems is very important. Now I'm going to use those labels in order to create my equation. It says 3 times the first odd integer. Well, the first odd integer is x. So this is 3 times the first odd integer. There's my word is, so I need equal sign. It says is 5 more than twice the second. So I have 5 more than twice the second. Well, 5 more than twice the second, 2 times x plus 2. Now, I'm saying that 3 times the first integer, this right now, is 5 more than this. So I really don't have an equal sign here because right now the left-hand side, this side right here, is 5 more. So in order to compensate, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 5 to the right-hand side. Now I have an equation that works for this particular story problem, and I would go through and solve it. If I go through and solve this, I'm going to have 3x is equal to, I'm going to get rid of the parentheses, 2x plus 4 plus 5. I'm going to combine my like terms. I'm going to have 3x equals 2x plus 9. I could subtract 2x from both sides. I get a final answer of x is equal to 9. So 9 is the first odd integer, and 11 would be my second odd integer. So the answers would be 9 and 11. Now, I don't want to confuse anyone with what I'm about to say, but I do want to make a point here. Let's go back to the original problem here for a moment. We're going to keep the same labeling. X is the first odd integer, x plus 2 is the second odd integer, and we're going to keep the same sides in a way of the equation. I have a 3x on one side, I have a 2 times x plus 2 on the other side. And it said that 3 times the first integer, which is this side, is 5 more than twice the second. So this side right here was 5 more than the second one, which is on the right-hand side. So what we did originally is we added 5. If this side right here, if the left-hand side was 5 more, the other thing I could have done is I could have given an equation, I'm going to take 5 away from that side because it was 5 more. This equation right here would also work. So let's go through and solve this equation. If I go through and solve this equation, I get 3x subtract 5 is equal to 2x. I'm sorry, I'm going to get rid of parentheses. 2x plus 4. This is an x right here. And now I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. If I subtract 2x from both sides, I get x minus 5 is equal to 4. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. I get x is equal to 9. I still get exactly the same answers, but it was a different equation that I had. Remember, you can have more than one correct equation for the problem. It just depends upon how you want to go through and set it up. Here's an example of solving a geometry word problem. The length of a rectangle is 5 centimeters less than 3 times its width. If the perimeter of the rectangle is 46 centimeters, find the dimensions of the rectangle. This is one that you do want to go through and do the labeling part, but I would probably also go through and just draw a picture. I have a rectangle, and it says the length is 5 centimeters less than 3 times the width. I need to say, what do I want x to equal? I usually let x equal the smaller number, so I'm going to let x equal the width. So I'm going to put an x out here. It says the length of the rectangle is 5 centimeters less than 3 times its width. So if I want 5 less than 3 times the width, my length is going to be 3x minus 5. Because it needs to be 5 less, here's 5 less, than 3 times the width. Once again, this is that labeling part. But once again, I'm going to put into my picture what the length is, 3x subtract 5. Now I need to come up with my equation. It says the perimeter of the rectangle is 46 centimeters. Remember, the perimeter means the distance all the way around it. So if I start here, I would have to go all the way around the rectangle to get 46. There are all sorts of different equations you can come up with this. I could say 3x minus 5, I'm going to write this down, 3x minus 5 plus x plus another 3x minus 5 plus another x has to equal 46. And I would go through and solve that by first combining my x's and just my constants, and I would go through and solve that. But I could also come up with another equation. I know that if this top portion right here is 3x minus 5, I know that's 3x minus 5. So I actually have 2 different 3x minus 5s. If this is x, I know the other side is x, so I have 2 x's. So the other thing that I could do is I could say I have 2 x's plus 2 3x minus 5s, and that is also equal to 46. Now, if I go through and I simplify this, that's exactly what I'm going to end up with, the same thing, because the very first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to get rid of these parentheses. I have 2x plus 6x minus 10 is equal to 46, and that's what I'm going over right now in the green. That is what that would all equal if I solve that. Let me continue to go through and solve this equation that I have right here. 2x plus 6x is 8x, so I have 8x minus 10 is equal to 46. I'm going to add 10 to both sides. I'm going to get 8x is equal to 56, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 8. When I divide both sides by 8, I get a final answer of x is equal to 7. Remember, I have to go back to that labeling part. I know that x is equal to 7, which means the width is equal to 7, and now I also have to figure out the length. The length is 3x minus 5. So I'm going to put 7 back in for that x. 3 times 7 is 21. 21 minus 5 does give me 16. So my width in this particular case was 7. My length is 16. And I would verify that the perimeter is 46. This is 7. This is 7. The length we said is 16. This length is 16. If I add up all those numbers, 16 plus 7 plus 16 plus 7, I'm going to get 46 for an answer. Remember that I had mentioned to you that there are all sorts of equations that you can come up with in a problem. So I want to talk about one other type of equation that you could have for this particular problem. I'm going to do it on this same page so we can take a look at the problem again. But I am going to draw this rectangle. I'm going to keep the same labeling part. This is x, and this is 3x minus 5. It says that the perimeter all the way around it, all the way around that rectangle, is 46. Well, the other thing you could say is, if all the way around it is 46, halfway around it, what I just did in the green, halfway around it has to be half of the perimeter, half of 46. So another equation you could have is you could just have 3x minus 5, the length, plus x, which is the width, has to be half of the perimeter. Half of the perimeter is 23. If I go through and solve this, now I have 3x plus x is 4x. I have 4x subtract 5 is equal to 23. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. I'm going to get 4x is equal to 28, and x is equal to 7. Notice I get the same answer either way, and then I'm still going to go through to my original labeling part to figure out that if the width is equal to 7, the length is equal to 16. Creating equations based on a word problem and then solving the word problem is not an easy skill, but with practice, I hope you find that it is working for you. If there is anything I can do to help, please let me know.